Okay, so guys, those of you who don't have your blue hand up, can I ask you to put your blue hand up? Except Aga, who will probably crash if she puts her blue hand up. Freddie, do you know how to put the blue hand up? This is one of those things where the admin should be able to put people's hands up for them.
Is it okay?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay,
Image
so
coming onto someone's desk and going.
yeah. So let's just remind ourselves what we did in the last session. I'm going to just momentarily share a screen with you. Share screen. So if you remember what we did last week, was to just examine the general Japanese sentence structure. So the rules being subject at the beginning and verb or state at the end, or of course you can put ka at the end to make it a question, which makes things very easy. So, and everything else, the objects and the information can go in the middle. Just one extra thing, guys, that I came across at this morning's session. If you want to say in a sentence today or next week, last week, or every week, if you want to make a time reference, it's generally a good idea to put that at the complete beginning of the sentence, almost by itself, so almost like a comma. So almost like saying, if I wrote it in English, I would say, last week, comma, I went to Tokyo. And we should do the same. It's really useful to do the same thing in Japanese. Senshu space watashi wa Tokyo ni ikimashita. So this will just make things a lot easier. If you put senshu in the middle of the sentence, it's fine, but you'll find you might get confused with how to put a particle next to it or mixing it up with other parts of information. So generally, if you put the time outside of the sentence at the very beginning, then you will find that it makes very natural sentences. Okay, let's now look. So we looked at, the general Japanese sentence structure, and then we talked about state. So des, I am, it is, she is, they are, etc. How to turn that into negative, dewa arimasen. How to turn it into the past, deshita, and then very easily to make negative past, we just combine these two together to say dewa arimasen deshita. Dewa arimasen deshita. Okay. And then we also did a little bit of referencing. So we talked about how, just as in English, I could say, this phone is mine, which would be kono keitai wa watashi no desu. Or I could just say, this is mine. Kore wa watashi no desu. So kore is a bit like saying this thing or this item, where you don't have to mention the noun in the sentence, but after kono, sono, and ano, then you have to put the noun. You have to say kono denwa, kono koppu. You have to have the noun after kono, sono. We won't worry too much about these other things for the time being, because they will come later on in our sentence construction. Today, I would like to look into verbs, if you haven't already looked into this, and remembering, because this will be the subject of our study going forwards, that verbs are gradually broken up into three main categories. In fact, in Japanese formal grammar, they break down into 7 categories, but we don't have to worry about 5 of those. We can just worry about 3. So we have group 1 regular, group 2 regular, and group 3 irregular. We also discussed last week that if you can speak the polite form, if you can say ikimasu, tabemasu, kimasu, this is very good for general conversational Japanese, but it won't help you when you want to use the imperative, or if you want to talk about cause and effect. For example, because I ate this apple, I now feel sick. you need to learn the infinitive in order to develop the right verb to say this. If you want to say please do this or please do that, again, you have to go back to the infinitive to start to develop the correct tense of those verbs. Oh yeah, and I think some of you might have done this. I think we did this in 2 of the groups. We started practicing the present tense, so ikimasu, the present tense negative, ikimasen, past tense, mashita, and past tense negative, masen deshita. So perhaps we didn't do this quite so much. So what I'd like to just draw your attention to is the way that we change des into dewa arimasen and deshita and dewa arimasen deshita is pretty close to the way that we change the tense with all verbs. So if I want to say I will go, then I would say ikimasu. If I say I won't go, or I never go, or I will go tomorrow, I won't go tomorrow, then I would say ikimasen, ikimasen, which is very similar to dewa arimasen, this part here, you see. If I want to say I went somewhere, then I would say ikimashita. So this shita and this shita is the same. Mashita, deshita. It's the same transformation. And then the past tense in the negative, if I want to say I didn't go, I would say ikimasen deshita, which is very similar to the state dewa arimasen deshita. Okay, so let's do a little bit of practice for a second. Let me just turn that off and stop sharing. So if I can ask you to, actually, I'll mute you all first, and then I'll ask you to unmute yourselves as you answer. So, Mikhail, can you say, if there's any words that you don't know, just say, and I will tell you what they are. Okay. Can you say, tomorrow I will go to Tokyo?
Tomorrow.
So tomorrow is ashita. Yes, ashita. Good. That's it. Good.
Please repeat the sentence. What?
Tomorrow I will go to Tokyo.
Ashita watashi ni Tokyo ikimasu.
Okay, nearly. There was just one thing wrong.
Yes.
So, okay, so let me just rewind slightly to last week, because I remember what I talked about quite a lot was the difference between wa and ga. And part of that was just saying that, generally speaking, when you're having a conversation, it's normally quite clear to the people in that conversation if you're referring to yourself or if you're referring to the other person. So you don't need to worry about watashi wa. So it would be, if you were trying to stress that it was you that was going to Tokyo, then it would be watashi wa Tokyo ni ikimasu. But actually, in normal conversation, you wouldn't bother saying watashi wa. So if I can ask you again, how would you say tomorrow I will go to Tokyo?
Ashita ni Tokyo ikimasu.
Tokyo ni ikimasu. Ashita Tokyo ni ikimasu. Okay, great. Thanks, Mike and Michal. Freddie, how would you say tomorrow I will not go to Canada? Tomorrow I will not go to Canada.
Ashita wa Canada ni ikimasen deshita.
No, so ikimasen deshita means I didn't go, but this is future.
Ikimasen de.
So you don't need to use des at the end. Ikimasen itself is the whole verb. So okay. Purely.
Ashita wa Canada ni ikimasen.
Exactly, yeah. Ashita wa Canada ni ikimasen. Now, when we're doing these lessons, I'm going to constantly be commenting on if you use wa or ga, because the rules are quite flexible. Well, not flexible. The rules are full of exceptions about when to use wa and when to use ga. In fact, it's quite flexible. So in this instance, if you said ashita wa Canada ni ikimasen, what you're drawing the attention to is the fact that this is tomorrow you're talking about. So by saying ashita wa Canada ni ikimasen, it's suggesting that you are going to go to Canada, but it's not tomorrow. maybe the day after tomorrow, maybe next week. So by saying ashita wa Kanada ni ikimasen, the stress is a little bit different. In fact, I would say the subject of this sentence isn't ashita wa, it's actually watashi wa. I am not going to Canada tomorrow. But as I said, you don't need to worry about saying watashi wa. So in fact, the sentence could be shortened to ashita Canada ni ikimasen. Then it's clear that you're talking about yourself and you're not stressing that it's not tomorrow you're going, it's another day. So if I can ask you to say the sentence one more time.
明日カナダに行きません。
Exactly. Ashita Canada ni ikimasen. Great. Thanks, Freddie. Asha, how would you say yesterday I went to Paris?
昨日、パリに行き、行きました。
Ikimashita.
No.
So the Japanese are not like the British in that the Japanese generally allow the original country to keep the name of their cities. So Paris in Japanese is Paris, as the French would say it, and Prague is Praha. So, and I think Warsaw is Warszawa. So they're very good at keeping the original names of cities. So can I ask you to say the sentence again?
はい。昨日、パリ
Good.
に行きました。
Yes, exactly. Kino pari ni ikimashita. So kino is the word for yesterday, if you don't already know this. Kino pari ni ikimashita. Oh, here's Paya. Just let Paya in. Konbanwa, Paya. Oh, you're muted at the moment. It's okay. I'll come to you in a second and I'll ask you a question. Ed, if you can unmute yourself and tell me, how would you say, I didn't go to Tokyo last week? If there's any words you're not sure, just let me know and I'll tell you what they are. I didn't go to Tokyo last week.
Last weekend.
Last week is senshu.
I didn't go to Tokyo.
Exactly.
So it's in the past. Senshu dewa ikimasen deshita. Tokyo.
You're nearly there. You're nearly there. It's just that remember that the verb generally goes at the end and all the information goes in the middle.
Senshu.
Good.
Tokyo ni dewa arimasen deshita.
So that means it wasn't Tokyo last week. I didn't
true.
go.
It wasn't Tokyo last week.
One more time. How do you say I didn't go?
Dewa arimasen deshita.
No, that means
ikimasen deshita.
Ikimasen
Ikimasen deshita.
Okay,
Sorry.
good. That's all right. So
I
senshu.
got mixed up.
That's okay. Senshu Tokyo ni.
Senshu Tokyo ni ikimasen deshita.
Perfect. Tokyo ni ikimasen deshita. Good. Great. Thanks, Ed.
Got there in the end.
Yep. It's fine, guys. I should say generally, it's really good if you make mistakes. If you have a try and then you get corrected, this is how children learn how to speak languages, and it's how we should learn how to speak languages, because you'll pick things up much quicker, hearing the mistakes corrected, and then hearing the correction. Okay.
I was
and
actually Edo last.
Sorry, you were actually. I've lost you, Ed, but I'm going to mute you anyway. Okay, and then let's do one more of these. Wukash, how would you say? We're going to add. I'm going to throw you in the alligator pit for a second. How would you say? I go to Madrid every week. Every week.
毎週マドリードに行きます。
Yes, exactly. 毎週マドリードに行きます. So I'm throwing in another bit of vocabulary here. If we want to say every, like every week, every month, every day, then instead of So we use the word mai to mean every. So we put every, and then every week is shu, every month is getsu, every day is nichi. There is going to be some complexity about this, though, when we come to say yesterday, today, next year. But we'll gradually add these in as we go through. So every week is maishu. So if you remember, next week was raishu. Every week, maishu, raishu, maishu. And then, Joelle, if you can unmute yourself. So, Joelle, here's a very quick test. How do you say last week, this week, next week, every week? Do you remember?
Last week, Senshu.
Good.
This week,
I'll give you a clue.
Next week will be Raishu.
Good.
Every week, Maishu.
Good.
And this week.
So you actually already know this word because you say it when you say hello. The word konnichiwa means today. Means
okay.
This. So the
Konshu.
Konshu, exactly. Konshu. Yeah. So the word for month is getsu. So what would be this month?
Kongetsu.
Good. And next month?
Sengetsu.
That's last month.
Next month.
Yes.
Raigetsu.
Raigetsu. Good. Okay, excellent. So Joelle, can you say every month I don't go? No. That you can't say this. Every month I go to New York.
Maigetsu New York ni ikimasu.
Good. Maigetsu New York ni ikimasu. Perfect. So the thing that I'm trying to get you guys to recognize is that it doesn't matter if you're saying I'm going now, I will go, like I will go tomorrow, and I go every week, like a habit, there's a cycle to this. All three of these you can express by saying ikimasu. You just say the present tense of the verb. So it's really, really simple. You just say ikimasu. It's very different to English, where you would say I will go, or I am going, or I often go, or I go by itself. It's a different way of saying it in every single case in English, but in Japanese, it's always the same. Ikimasu. Great, thanks, Joelle. Okay, let us now just drop back to the slide a second. Okay, so we've done masu, masen, mashita, masen deshita. Does anybody have any problems with this? If you have any problems, just unmute yourself and tell me what the problem is. You have 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Great. Okay, that's good then. So these are I'd like you to copy down these 3 example verbs because we'll be using them in a moment. Ikimasu, tabemasu, kimasu. And I also want you to, if you don't know this already, I'd like you to make a note of the infinitive, the plain form. Iku, taberu, and kuru. All good? Okay, so David, how would you say, won't you come to my party next week? Sorry, David, you're muted at the moment.
Next week.
Yes, please.
来週パーティーに来ますか?
So how would you say, won't you come?
来ますか? So 来ます.
Yes. So how would you say, won't you come? So if you say, are you coming or won't you come? This is pretty much the same meaning, isn't it? It means, please come to my party.
ください.
Nearly, but just literally, how would you say, won't you come to my party? Hi, Taya.
Won't you come? ikimasen?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly this. You can, and this is like inviting somebody. Won't you come to my party? You say in the same way in English as you would in Japanese. So can you ask me again next week? Won't you come to my party?
来週パーティーに行きませんか?
And whose party is it?
私のパーティーです.
Yeah. So can you say the whole sentence again?
I'll get there in the end. 来週私のパーティーに行きませんか?
Exactly. Yeah. Good. 来週私のパーティーに来ませんか? Yeah. Very good.
お願い
Thanks.
します。お酒。
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. What you guys are doing is you're taking all these different bits of grammar and plugging them together piece by piece, and this is exactly the kind of assembly which will help you to speak quickly instead of taking 30 years like I did.
Short
Nikolai.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Short question. Was it a question? Was it ikimasen ka? I
Yeah,
understand, right?
yeah, exactly. And it's just like an invitation. Won't you come to my party next week? Watashi no party ni kimasen ka? So in this case, it's not ikimasen. It's kimasen. Won't you come to my party? But this you can use this exactly like an invitation. So Michael, while you're on, how would you say, won't you eat some cake? Won't you eat this cake? How would you say, won't you eat this cake?
Want you? あなたは、ケーキ、食べますせんか?
Yeah, exactly. Keiki o tabemasen ka? So how would you say this cake? How would you say, won't you eat this cake?
This cake. This cake.
Do you remember how to reference something? To say this. So kore is just this by itself, but how would you say this cake?
Kore.
Not kore,
This cake.
but remember you have to use, remember the difference between kore and kono?
Hi.
Yeah. Kore
Kono.
is kore used by itself, kono you put cake after it.
Kono ga cake o no?
No, not this way.
I'm confused.
Okay. So this cake would be, how would you say this cake?
This cake. Cake o des. Cake des.
So cake des is this is cake, but how would you say this cake? Just this cake.
I don't know.
Okay, so that's kono keiki. Kono keiki.
Kono keiki.
This cake, yeah. So this cake is kono keiki. If you are holding a piece of cake and I'm talking to you, I would say sono keiki. Sono keiki. And if I'm talking about cake which is far away from both of us, so cake somewhere over there, I would say ano keiki. Ano keiki. Yeah. So let's go back then. How would you say, won't you eat this cake?
Kono cake. Keiki.
Good,
Kono
yeah.
keiki. Ga ikimasen ka?
So that's saying, won't that cake go? You could say, won't it go in my mouth? But what's
Eat the tabemasu.
Yes.
Tabemasen ka?
Exactly, yeah. Kono keiki o tabemasen ka? So these three example verbs that I've said, ikimasu, tabemasu, kimasu, two of them sound very similar and they behave very similarly. So to go is ikimasu and to come is kimasu. So they sound very similar. And then taberu or tabemasu, to eat, sounds like table, where you eat. So it's quite easy to remember this one. Tabemasu. Wilkash, don't argue with me. It does sound like table in English.
It's stove.
Stupid Slavic language. Tabemasu. So kono keiki o tabemasen ka? Great. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Where were we? Simon, how would you say, Simon, I like throwing you in the alligator pit, as you know, because I know that you're good with languages. How would you say, won't you go to London with me next week?
Okay, let's see. 来週、ロンドンにて私、行きますか？
So how would you say, won't you go with me?
行きませんか?
Good. Okay. So if you want to say with is, you can kind of use the same word for and, which is to. So as you said, it was watashi, and then put to at the end, it means with
At the
me.
end.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So one more time.
来週ロンドンに私と、行きませんか?
Exactly, yeah. 来週、ロンドンに私と行きませんか? There is one, I'm going to add a bit more vocabulary for you guys, because you'll probably use this quite a lot, especially if you're traveling in Japan. When you're saying and me, like won't you go to London with me, then this is simply watashi to. But to say to go together, won't you go with me together, the word we use is, Wukash, can you unmute yourself and say it?
一緒に
Ishoni, ishoni. So this is a short or, but a long sh. Ishoni, ishoni. So to say this whole sentence, I would say, 来週、私と一緒にロンドンに行きませんか? 来週、私と一緒にロンドンに行きませんか? Simon, one more time.
Yeah. 来週ロンドンに私と一緒に行きませんか?
Exactly, yeah, good. Won't you go to London with me next week? Good, yeah. 私と一緒にロンドンに来週行きませんか? Or any order. I mean, almost all of this you could put in any order. 私と一緒にロンドンに来週. All these three bits of information could all go in any order you like. Great, thanks Simon, well done. Alessio, how would you say, won't you eat this delicious spaghetti with me?
Okay, wait. Won't you eat delicious spaghetti?
So don't worry about delicious. Let's just say spaghetti.
Okay.
Let's say pasta. Pasta.
Okay. What do you eat? Eat is 食べます。
Good.
食べません。
Good. Yes.
So, I don't know.
So let's start. Let's do the sentence.
You is あなたは.
So don't worry about
No,
anatawa,
no,
because
okay.
we won't use it. If you're talking to me, if you say to me, "Won't you eat this cake?" It's very clear that that it's me that you're referring to.
Okay.
So you don't need to use anatawa.
パスタに食べません. I don't know. 食べませんか?
Okay. So if I'm not sure if you read the article I wrote on transitive and intransitive verbs.
Okay. Yeah.
So things like tabemas or shimas, skaimas. So shimas is to do, skaimas is to use, tsukurimas is to make. These are what's called transitive verbs, which means when you have an effect on something else, when you do something to something else. In this case, the thing that you're affecting is marked by the particle o.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, if I say I eat sushi, it's sushi or tabemas. But
okay.
as well as transitive verbs, the other type is intransitive verbs. This means you're doing something to yourself. For example, going somewhere or returning home from somewhere. In that case, there's nothing for you to affect, but the direction is marked with the particle ni. So in this case, if you're saying...
In this case, it's transitive.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so pasta o
食
べませんか?
And then how do you say with me? Because I always like to eat pasta with somebody else.
Okay.
Same plate of pasta.
一緒に
So watashi
Is it
to.
together? No.
Yeah,
Watashi-
actually,
yeah.
yeah. So you don't have to say watashi to. If you just said issho ni, this is enough. This means together.
Okay.
So one more time.
So, パスタを、よしに食べませんか
So issho ni, issho ni.
一緒に。
Yes.
あ、
that's it.
一緒に。OK。
Yeah. That's it.
一緒に。
Pasta o issho ni tabemasen ka? Yeah. So you can say watashi to issho ni, or you can just say issho ni. If it's clear that you're talking about yourself.
Okay.
You could say, for example, Ed-san to issho ni Tokyo ni ikimasu ka? Which is saying, will you go to Tokyo with Ed? Ed-san to issho ni. Okay, guys, we've got less than 1 minute left, so let's break it now and let's rejoin the session. So just click on the same link one more time. Okay.
Okay.
See you in the next one.